There comes a moment in every person's journey when the real battle begins, not with the world, not with circumstances, but with the self. This is the point where you say, I must keep going, yet everything inside you screams, I can't. That's the moment when your mind and your potential collide. It's not that you're weak, it's that you're meeting resistance, and resistance is the signal that you're on the edge of growth. The mind's job is to keep you safe, to keep you within what's familiar, to make sure you don't step too far outside the boundaries of what it understands. But the soul, your higher potential, isn't interested in safety. It's interested in expansion. It's pulling you toward what you could become. While your mind is fighting to keep you who you've always been, this battle is invisible, but you feel it deeply. It's that tension in your chest when you know what you need to do, but you hesitate. It's the fatigue that shows up right when you're close to progress. It's the doubt that whispers that maybe it's not worth it. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe you'll fail again. And most people stop there. They believe the voice that says, take it easy, stop pushing, it's too much. But that's not the voice of truth. It's the voice of comfort. It's the mind's attempt to return you to what feels familiar, because it equates familiarity with safety. Even if it's painful, even if it keeps you stuck, the truth is, growth and safety cannot coexist. You cannot evolve and remain comfortable. Every time you commit to becoming more, the mind resists because it must break old neural patterns. Every belief, every habit, every emotional loop you've carried is stored energy, and when you challenge those patterns, the body feels threatened. You're literally rewiring your identity. That's why transformation feels uncomfortable. You're teaching your brain and body a new way to be. The resistance is not a sign to stop. It's confirmation that change is happening. Think about this. The moment you feel resistance, that's the edge of your comfort zone. It's like walking up to an invisible wall between who you are and who you want to be. The old self says, stay here where it's known, while the new self whispers, keep going, there's more waiting. But to cross that threshold, you have to understand that discomfort isn't your enemy. It's your invitation. It's the signal that you're stepping into unknown territory, a place your mind hasn't yet mapped. The only way to expand your potential is to keep walking forward. Even when your thoughts beg you to turn back, when you begin to reframe resistance as growth, everything changes. You start to realize that the fatigue, the doubt, the frustration, they're not signs of failure, they're signs of transformation. The body resists because it's recalibrating to a higher frequency. The mind resists because it's being asked to think differently. This is the process of breaking through conditioning. Most people never make it past this phase because they misinterpret it. They think, if I'm struggling, maybe it's not meant for me. But the struggle is precisely what's shaping you. You're not meant to stop when it gets hard. You're meant to stay long enough for the discomfort to become your new normal. There's a point during this process when your external world might not change yet, but your internal state is shifting. That's where most people give up because they can't see progress. But what they don't realize is that change happens inside before it's reflected outside. You're building invisible strength, patience, discipline, trust, and emotional control. These are the foundations of persistence. Every time you choose to keep going despite resistance, you're sending a signal to your subconscious mind that says, we are no longer controlled by fear. That's when transformation begins. Your potential doesn't lie in what you already know. How to do it lies beyond what feels natural. When you begin to challenge your mental and emotional limits, you discover that the boundaries you believed in were never real. They were just habits of thought, recycled emotions from the past. Every I can't is just a memory of a time you tried and failed, stored in your nervous system. But the moment you choose to act differently, to keep going, to push forward, you start to rewrite that memory. You teach your mind and body that you're not the same person who gave up last time. You are evolving in real time. To understand the battle between your mind and your potential, you must see resistance as feedback. It's showing you exactly where you're still attached to the old self. When fear arises, it's showing you where you've stopped trusting. When fatigue sets in, it's showing you where your energy is being drained by old patterns of thought. When doubt appears, It's revealing where you still seek proof before belief. This awareness allows you to step out of reaction and into observation. Instead of being consumed by resistance, you begin to study it. You realize that the moment you can watch your thoughts instead of becoming them, you gain power over them, and that's the key. Awareness. You cannot overcome what you are unconscious of. Most people are stuck not because they lack strength, but because they are unaware of their automatic responses. The body says, "I'm tired," and they obey. The mind says it's not working, and they stop. But when you become aware that these thoughts are patterns, not truth, you can choose differently. You can say, "I hear you, but I'm still moving forward." That's when you start to lead your mind instead of following it. The battle between your mind and your potential isn't something to win. It's something to understand. It's the process of becoming conscious enough to stop living as the past and start creating from the future. Every time you face resistance and choose to keep going, you are literally reprogramming your nervous system to trust in your power. You are proving to yourself that you are capable of more than your mind can comprehend. That's where growth begins, in the quiet decision to keep moving when everything inside you says stop. Every time you reach a point where you want to give up, it's rarely the circumstances that stop you. It's the emotional state you've become trapped in. The reason so many people struggle to keep going isn't because they lack strength or capability, but because they're unknowingly addicted to the emotions that come from the old version of themselves. Those emotions, fear, frustration, doubt, unworthiness, are deeply rooted in the body's memory. The body has become conditioned to feel a certain way. And whenever you attempt to step into a new level of your life, those old emotions rise to pull you back. It's not sabotage. It's familiarity. The body believes that what's familiar is safe, even when it's painful. When you decide to move beyond the old self, your mind might agree intellectually. It says, "I'm ready for change." But your body, which has memorized the past through emotional experiences, doesn't always follow. It resists because it's been programmed to live by feelings of survival. You might wake up one morning, motivated to start again, to push forward, but a few hours later you feel drained, anxious, or uncertain. That's not a sign that something is wrong. That's your old emotional identity fighting to stay alive. The moment you try to leave the old self behind, it will pull you back with thoughts and emotions that are rooted in who you used to be. You've probably felt this before, the cycle of starting strong, full of purpose, and then slowly falling back into old habits. Not because you want to, but because something inside you keeps bringing you back to your old ways of thinking and feeling. That's the emotional cycle. It's not about discipline or motivation. It's about emotional addiction. The body becomes addicted to the chemicals of the emotions you repeatedly experience. If you've spent years feeling powerless, uncertain, or frustrated, your body has learned to crave those feelings because they're familiar. And when you try to step into confidence or faith, your body literally sends signals to your brain that something feels wrong, not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. To break the emotional cycle, you have to recognize that you are not your emotions. You are the consciousness experiencing them. When you begin to observe your emotions instead of being consumed by them, you take back your power. The old self lives in reaction, reacting to triggers, reacting to pain, reacting to doubt. The new self responds with awareness. The moment you catch yourself feeling the same familiar emotions, instead of identifying with them, you can pause and say, "This is not who I am anymore." That simple awareness begins to loosen the grip of the old emotional patterns. Breaking the cycle also means learning to sit in the discomfort of transformation. Most people try to escape it. They distract themselves. They seek comfort. They rationalize why it's okay to stop. But the truth is, transformation requires you to feel the very emotions you've been avoiding without reacting to them. When you sit in fear without running, you're rewiring your nervous system to handle more uncertainty. When you sit in doubt and still choose to move forward, you're teaching your mind that you can act without proof. When you sit in pain without letting it define you, you're dissolving the emotional identity that once controlled you. The old self is built on emotional memory. It's the version of you that responds automatically based on your past experiences. Every disappointment, every failure, every painful moment has left a residue in your emotional body, shaping your perception of what's possible. When you decide to evolve, you're not just changing your habits, you're changing your energy. Persistence isn't about pushing harder through exhaustion. It's about learning how to align your energy so deeply with your purpose that movement becomes natural. Most people misunderstand persistence. They think it's about forcing yourself to keep going through pain and struggle. But real persistence is not born from force. It's born from awareness. It's not about fighting against life, but flowing with it. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are in harmony with your higher intention, you tap into a source of power that doesn't burn out. You move from survival energy, which drains you, into creative energy, which sustains you. Every time you face pain, disappointment, or uncertainty, you're being offered an opportunity to transform that pain into energy. But most people resist pain. They run from it, they numb it, or they label it as negative. Yet the truth is, pain is energy. It's information. It's your body and mind communicating that something is out of alignment. If you stop resisting it and instead sit with it, listen to it, and redirect it, pain can become one of the most powerful sources of fuel in your journey. Because energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transformed. The energy that once felt like despair can become determination. The energy that once felt like fear can become focus. The same emotion that once made you want to quit can become the very thing that drives you forward. This transformation begins the moment you decide to stop labeling your pain as something bad. When you feel exhaustion, when you feel resistance, when you feel stuck, instead of saying, "I'm done, I can't do this," what if you said, "This is energy, I can use this"? That shift in perception changes everything. Suddenly, pain is no longer something that holds you back. It becomes something you can harness. The greatest individuals in history didn't become unstoppable because they avoided pain. They became unstoppable because they learned how to alchemize it. They turned suffering into wisdom, failure into strength, and loss into faith. You are capable of doing the same. The reason why most people feel drained isn't because they lack energy, but because they're spending it unconsciously. They invest it in worry, doubt, fear, and overthinking, and then wonder why they have nothing left for their dreams. Energy flows where attention goes. When you focus on what's not working, you feed it. When you focus on what's possible, you amplify it. Persistence begins when you take back control of where your energy is going. To sustain movement, you must learn how to stay connected to your intention, not your emotion. Emotions fluctuate. One day you feel motivated, the next day you don't, but intention remains constant. When your actions are rooted in intention, not mood, you become unstoppable. It's not about feeling like it every day. It's about remembering why you started and allowing that why to guide your actions, even when motivation fades. The energy of persistence is fueled by clarity. When you know what you're fighting for, not externally, but internally, you stop giving up so easily. You can begin to feel this energy shift when you move from asking, "How do I get through this?" to "What can I learn from this?" That question immediately moves you from resistance to creation. The moment you stop seeing obstacles as punishment and start seeing them as purpose, you shift your vibration. You stop draining energy through victimhood and start generating energy through growth. Every challenge contains the exact frequency needed to elevate you. When you meet that frequency with awareness, you unlock its power. Persistence is not about having endless strength. It's about maintaining alignment long enough for your energy to stabilize at a higher level. When you meditate, when you breathe, when you ground yourself, you're not escaping the world, you're restoring your inner flow. You're reminding your nervous system that it doesn't need to live in constant stress. From that state of coherence, persistence becomes effortless. You're no longer pushing, you're being pulled by something greater. You move because you're connected to your higher energy, not because you're forcing your lower self. In the process of turning pain into power, you begin to notice that life responds differently to you. Opportunities appear where there were none before. People begin to match your energy instead of drain it. Situations that once triggered you no longer have power over you. Why? Because you're no longer living in reaction, you're creating from awareness. Persistence becomes your natural state when you stop wasting energy resisting. It's what is, and start using that energy to create what can be. It's important to understand that persistence is not about never falling. It's about always rising. When you fall, don't just get up quickly. Pause, reflect, and collect the energy of that fall. Every setback carries data about where your focus was misaligned. When you take the time to observe it consciously, you reclaim that energy. Most people rush to move on after failure, but persistence means integrating the lesson, not avoiding the feeling. Every lesson you integrate becomes energy you don't have to repeat. You can also activate the energy of persistence by embodying gratitude in the middle of the struggle. Gratitude changes your electromagnetic field. It literally alters the frequency of your energy. When you're grateful, even in the midst of difficulty, you align with the energy of abundance instead of scarcity. Gratitude doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means acknowledging that even this challenge has value. That awareness keeps you moving forward with peace rather than pressure. Persistence is not an action. It's a state of being. It's the embodiment of faith in motion. It's the energetic agreement you make with life that says, no matter how long this takes, no matter how hard this gets, I will not stop aligning myself with who I am becoming. When you live from that energy, you stop depending on outer circumstances for validation. You no longer need instant results to feel progress, because you understand that your persistence itself is the evidence of your evolution. You're not chasing change anymore. You're becoming it. The energy of persistence is available to anyone who chooses to see pain as power. It's the decision to let every emotion, every failure, every obstacle fuel your transformation instead of your frustration. When you reach that point, you no longer ask, "Can I do this?" You simply say, "I must keep going." Because persistence has stopped being an effort and has become your energy, your identity, your natural state of creation. When you decide that you must keep going, you begin to shift from being a reactor to life into becoming a creator of life. Most people live as if their future is predetermined by their past. They replay memories, recycle emotions, and repeat behaviors that keep them stuck in the same cycle of experience. They wake up each morning thinking the same thoughts as yesterday, feeling the same emotions as yesterday, doing the same things as yesterday, and they wonder why nothing changes. But when you make the decision to keep going despite the circumstances, despite the old identity that tries to pull you back, you break that loop. You begin to move from being a product of your past to a pioneer of your future. Every thought you think is an electrical signal. Every emotion you feel is a magnetic field. And together they create your energetic signature, your personal frequency. That frequency is what communicates with the field around you. When you are stuck in fear, doubt, and limitation, your energy broadcasts that frequency, and the field responds accordingly. You keep attracting experiences that match your energy of survival. But when you choose persistence, when you commit to a new vision of who you are, your frequency changes. You begin to align with possibilities that were invisible before because your energy was never tuned to perceive them. This is not magic. It's coherence. You become the creator of your future reality when you understand that life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are being. You can want abundance, health, success, love, or freedom. But if your emotional state is rooted in fear, lack, or self-doubt, then that's the signal you're sending out. The field mirrors it back to you in the form of experiences that validate your current vibration. That's why persistence isn't just about doing more, it's about becoming more. Every time you keep going when your mind says stop, you're training your body to trust a new energy. You're teaching yourself how to hold faith longer than fear. To create your future reality, you must first stop identifying with the old version of yourself. The one that gave up easily. The one that doubted its own potential. The one that defined itself by external results. That identity is built from memories, and memories are the past. You cannot create a new future while emotionally living in an old story. So, the process begins when you become aware of who you've been. Not to judge it, but to release it. because awareness is liberation. Once you observe your old patterns without feeding them, you begin to reclaim your power from them. When you visualize your future, do not do it from the standpoint of hoping it happens. Do it from the feeling that it already has. The future you desire already exists in the quantum field as potential energy. You connect with it, not through logic, but through emotion. You must feel the emotions of your desired future before it arrives. The gratitude, the peace, the certainty, the freedom. When you feel those emotions now, your body begins to believe it's already living that reality.